think there has been leak in
The NEET paper.
Yes. And I heard that they took hefty amount from the student from 10 lakh rupees up. Even very reputed people from the industry, and I tell them, when they ask me what do I do, and I tell them, Ocha, I was working there at NASA, I came back, I started my company. They're like, why? That's so sad. Why did you come back to India?
I personally believe that women make better leaders. The reason being such, they are more compassionate, they have greater empathy, they have clearer minds, and I really believe so. Male who was the main breadwinner. Roles have now reversed. I think spouses have started to realize that to have a successful woman at home is a huge plus.
Now, I feel nowadays anybody who has a good camera and good communication skill, you can just, go on YouTube and maybe start your own channel.
Because they will not wait to allow an opportunity to pass them by. So they want to move faster, but then they also need that time. They know that once they're done experimenting with something,
this is your host and dost Neha Chauhan, founder AeroBay. Welcome to our second episode of the AeroBay podcast. And today's episode is going to be very, very special because हम सबके बीच में we have a very strong personality, a very strong female leader, an educationist, author, teacher, trainer, जिनकी जितनी तारीफ की जाए उतनी कम है. So welcome Dr. Neeta Bali ma'am. I would like to mention to all of our audience that today's episode is very, very special. Whether you are a student who's in a school, whether you are a young parent who's figuring out, what kind of skill their child should have, what kind of school or, colleges they should go to, career opportunities they should adapt to, or whether you are a working professional who's just stuck in middle of their career and who's just thinking what new thing I should go out and explore, and so there are so many different things. तो ये पॉडकास्ट बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है, बहुत मज़ा आने वाला है. लेट्स हियर from the great leader, great female leader, a great entrepreneurial mindset person. Welcome Dr. Neeta Bali ma'am. We are really, really excited to have you today with us.
Thank you so much, Neha, for having me here on this podcast. There's some wonderful things that you said about me. I've had a career of almost 39 years. For 39 years, I have been an educator, initially as a teacher of English and a head of department in a school called Matade, followed by a vice principalship at APJ Noida, and then principalship and directorship with GD Goenka World School, a very famous IB and Cambridge school. I've headed a residential school in Dehradun, Kasiga. I've headed a Podar school in Mumbai, and have also been a director for the St. Anandram Jaipuria schools pan-India till a few days ago. At this point of time, I'm trying to take a little respite from a career of 39 years.
Wow.
So I hope that somewhat answers your question. It's been a long, fulfilling, gratifying, and a very exciting journey, which has been with schools of different temperaments, if I may say so, yes. Because each school has a character yes. of its own. So it has been a very, very interesting, very exhilarating, very enjoyable and very invigorating journey.
Lovely to hear that, ma'am. Ma'am, on that note, I wanted to ask this thing, as you clearly mentioned, 39, 40 years is such a long time for one's career.
It's almost half a century.
Half a century, yes, that's correct. So, ma'am, being a female at such a high position, and I want to know, I'm a little bit biased here because I want to know this for myself also. How do you deal with everything, because power comes with a lot of responsibility, no matter whether you're in corporate, whether you're in education sector. So when a female person is at such a high position where you have to take so much of responsibility, where everybody's eyes is on you, how do you deal with it? How do you find that balance?
To be very honest, I think a lot of women now are doing it wonderfully well. I'm not the only one. You look around and see there are great women leaders. Yes. I personally believe that women make better leaders.
Absolutely.
The reason being such, they are more compassionate, they have greater empathy, They have clearer minds, and I really believe so. Biologically, also, they're sturdier and more resilient. So, I think most women are able to manage their careers well because of their resilience and their tenacity and their level headedness. And most women now are educated. So, by virtue of being educated and by virtue of the fact that they want to be independent breadwinners, not relying solely on their husbands, who they relied on earlier. In the earlier times, it is the male who was a main breadwinner.
Right.
Roles have now reversed. I think spouses have started to realize that to have a successful woman at home is a huge plus, because your children will emulate the mother.
Right.
The lesson or the message that goes home to the children is that if you have such an independent mother, then obviously you would want to be like your mother. So I think spouses have become more cooperative. Since families and spouses
Right.
and society in general
Right.
is now celebrating women empowerment,
Right.
majority of the women, I would say, particularly in the urban areas. I cannot comment on the rural areas, perhaps not so much in the rural areas, but definitely in the urban areas, people are holding up women as role models. And there is so much talk of women empowerment. So women
Right.
in the urban sector and women in the urban landscape are evolving. So by virtue of that, I think as such, most women have figured out, I would say, the art
Right.
of balancing.
Balancing.
So
Exactly.
it's not as if their life is hanging by a thread.
Right.
I think they're able to manage, they've learned the art of time management.
Right.
And so have probably the families, the children, the husband. They've also realized that in order to have an empowered mother,
Right.
they will need to contribute, and they have to if the mother has to succeed. So
Right.
things have changed now.
राइट सो दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली राइट मैम एंड वही लोगों को समझना पड़ेगा कि इंस्टेड ऑफ जस्ट सेइंग कि इट्स अ मैन्स जॉब और इट्स अ वुमेन्स जॉब, इट्स अ म्यूचुअल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ टू पीपल हु कैन कम टुगेदर एंड एक्चुअली कंट्रीब्यूट सो मच टूवर्ड्स आर इकोनॉमी, right? Ma'am, nowadays I meet, all these Gen Z and these new generations are coming. They think different, the way they live is different, their idea of jobs are different. So, like when we hire in our company, I feel they are less drawn toward the money वाला sector, क्योंकि ऐसा एक era था कि जो हमारे डैड और उनसे पहले वाला था, they have to have some kind of financial guarantee, तो they used to look for that. उसके बाद then slowly things were changing. Nowadays I feel कि ये जो generation है इनको more they need more freedom, place where they can show their creativity more. बट मैम उसके साथ साथ एक और प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है कि दे वॉन्ट दैट फ्रीडम बट दे आर नॉट कमिटेड टू वन पर्टिकुलर वर्क एट वन टाइम बिकॉज दे आर ऑलवेज चेंजिंग देयर माइंड. हाउ डू वी डील विद ऑल ऑफ दिस प्रॉब्लम?
The exposure has been so much. If you look at the current generation, you yourself said that the current generation is not looking only for financial security, right? People in the earlier times would stay in one job because they felt secure. They felt that there was financial security in that job and there was really no need to move.
Right.
Because the jobs were not evolving at the pace at which the jobs are evolving now.
No.
People then did not have so many opportunities. Now, what is happening is new opportunities are being created at a frenetic pace.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Earlier, the new opportunities were far and few and far apart.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
But now the opportunities have just a whole Pandora's box has opened out.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So many opportunities
Yes.
are appearing.
Yes.
People are spoiled for choice, if I may put it this way.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, yes.
People are spoiled for
Absolutely.
choice.
Yes.
And the younger generation is smart. I would say the younger generation is smart because they will not wait to allow an opportunity to pass them by. So they want to move faster,
Right.
but then they also need that time. They know that once they're done experimenting with something, they need to move to the next thing. So rather than wasting time on something that doesn't interest them, they like to move to the next thing to experiment to see if it interests them.
Right.
So I don't blame the younger generation, and I think they're very bright.
They're
I have
very
I
bright.
have great faith in younger generation.
Right.
I have great admiration for younger generation because I really feel that they are willing to experiment. They are a whole generation of risk takers.
Absolutely.
They are a generation of risk takers. So are you. Look at
Yes.
yourself. All of 30 plus something, and such a huge risk taker. You could have very comfortably gotten married at when you were slightly younger and gone into a business family. You need not have slogged the way you're slogging today, right?
Right.
So I personally have great love and admiration for the younger generation. And I look upon the younger generation with a great sense of awe. And I'm very hopeful that most of the young people who are experimenting are bound to succeed.
Right.
They know how to look beyond their horizon.
So that's a very great news for all our Gen Z and younger audience out there. As ma'am clearly mentioned that our generation, younger generation, you guys have lot of skills. Plus the advantage is there's lot of opportunities now. I feel nowadays anybody who has a good camera and good communication skill, you can just go on YouTube and maybe start your own channel or do so many amazing things. So you don't have to be actually dependent on that, and as a society it's our responsibility that we give them, allow them that freedom, little bit of freedom, that so that they'll be able to go out and try all of those things.
Right.
Right. So, ma'am, next question, a little bit heavy. And I personally wanted to have your opinion because us being an education company, and not only for the perspective of company, because we've crossed that school and college wala cycle and job and all of those things. I feel, and so the young parents, they are, especially after COVID, maybe COVID would have given it a bit more boost. Younger generation, they have the younger parents whose children are third, fourth, fifth standard, they are running away from school. They are saying ki no, I rather school, I'm just sending my child just for the sake of degree. I rather send my child to these so many, I won't take their name, these many coaching institute. Students are just sitting there like after 8th standard, even 7th standard, 6th standard, they're sitting in these coaching classes from afternoon to late night, and instead of sitting in school and doing extra work outside here and there, and they're just the significance I feel is going lower and lower, which is very very sad, because what happened, school used to be the the main important part. There used to be this fun and feeling ki abhi school jana hai, and then it's going, ma'am, so fading away slowly. What's wrong?
See, one, we have to understand as parents that we cannot get our children to carry the burden of our dreams. Now, when I see that, a lot of us may not have ended up becoming engineers or doctors or other professions. Therefore, I think we are always in a hurry to ensure that our children are better equipped than we were. We feel, when we look back in retrospect, we feel we were not well prepared to have gotten into a good engineering college or into a good school of medicine.
Right.
And therefore, you start pushing your children.
Right.
Because you want them to fulfill your unfulfilled dreams. So this is now, I think, becoming rampant, and it's almost becoming a melee. So it's become a herd mentality. If someone is sending their child to a dummy school, another one also ends up sending to a dummy school, because these dummy schools are making big promises.
Yes.
These dummy schools are promising that we will be able to prepare your children very well for the entrances. And in addition to that, we'll be able to prepare them also for the school curriculum.
Yeah.
However, we need to know, and I think it is very evident, the opportunities that children get in school are not just scholastic opportunities. It's not about going into school, sitting and studying through the day. The opportunities are immense.
Right.
Schools are not just rooms that are put together for conducting classes where a teacher takes in books and starts to teach. Schools are places which provide opportunities to the young people to mingle with others, to build relationships, all right, to hone their social and interpersonal skills,
Right.
to learn how to deal with failure with courage, to learn
Absolutely,
the
ma'am.
art
Yes.
of communication,
Yes.
to learn creative arts, visual art, performing arts. So, to become creative human beings, schools are much more. Schools are not just places or factories where you're churning out,
Exactly.
products that look similar.
Yes. Right.
And schools are there to provide personalized attention and personalized instruction. Parents must never forget that school is not just a place, it's an ecosystem,
It's an ecosystem.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Whereas dummy schools are not ecosystems. Dummy schools focus only on preparation, all right, exam prep. They're obviously not focusing on the multiple other things that I have just spoken of.
Right.
And the children who emerge from these schools will obviously not have a sense of belonging.
Right.
You can't call yourself an alumnus of a dummy school
Exactly.
or a coaching
Exactly.
institute,
Right.
So parents need to know better. It's all right to train children and it's all right to prepare for these various competitive exams, but for heaven's sake, let children go into good regular schools and learn all the skills that they
Yes,
need
and
to.
ma'am, those skills are very, very important. Like even if the student, if they have cleared an entrance exam, let's say they go to a university, they are not able to. Their social life is very poor. They're not able to. They're very introvert. They're not able to talk to anyone. If a stress become a bit too high, so then they freak out and either they do something wrong, which is very sad. But I feel as you clearly mentioned that school is not a place where we are just producing the engineers and doctors. It's not a production house, right? It's a place where we can nurture our kids and so they
Yes.
can have overall personality
Schools,
development.
see, when we look back and think of gurukuls,
Yes.
where children stayed with their acharyas,
Right.
schools have come far from that. But at the end of the day, the model is the same.
Right.
Children may not stay with the acharyas 24/7. Some of them do in a boarding school. But having said that, this strong connect between the teacher and the taught is very, very necessary. Not just a strong connect between the teacher and the taught, but also the connect between the children
Right.
who attend these schools.
Right.
So there are multitude of skills that children learn. Not just the skills, the sheer joy of being there, and also the relationships that they cultivate in schools that probably sometimes last a lifetime.
Right. Exactly.
Are we not depriving children of all that when you send your children to dummy schools?
Yes.
Dummy schools ring an alarm bell.
Right. Right.
And if at all some preparatory schools have to be there, governments must have very stringent standards for controlling.
Some regulation should be in place
Yeah.
that
Yes.
like below a certain age, under a certain age, you should not
Yes.
send your kid.
Yeah.
They should be in the school learning rest of the skills as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, ma'am, that's a very, very strong and important point because after COVID, people got aware of technology, online classes, and everything. But in midst of all of this tech race, we forgot that we all are at the end of day social animal. We need that human emotion, human touch. We need that environment where we can actually nurture our kids, because at the end of the day they are the future of our country.
Absolutely.
But ma'am, even if let's say they are part of the school, they are doing, we are putting so many things, the policies are coming out, national education policy was out, now school innovation policy is there. Ma'am, unemployment rate still we see it's, it feels like it's unshakable, right? And it's growing high and high. I mean, recently there was this survey, ma'am, every year in India itself, there are around 10 lakh engineer graduates. Only 1 lakh of them end up actually getting jobs in same domain. Rest of them either they, I don't know, switch the domain, or they are maybe working for very low salary package, not even in their domain. Maybe they're just going to call centers and all of those things. Families who can't afford the education, they have taken a lot of property backed loan. They're not able to repay it for rest of their life. It's such a problematic situation. What should we do about it, and how as a social responsible people, how we can exactly deal with it?
See, unemployability is growing because population is growing, right?
Yes.
Having said that, we also need to understand that if there's such a rat race to get into different engineering colleges, these colleges may have excellent faculty, these colleges may have fantastic infrastructure, but unless we let go of blue collar mentality and get people to work with their hands, I don't think people are going to be employable. Employability starts only when people have the right skills.
Right.
So, when people have only learnt what they need to learn theoretically, you cannot hope unless there is vestibule training. When I talk about vestibule training, unless you actually go there and work on the work floor, I don't think you're adequately equipped to be employed. And majority of the educational institutions, particularly those who are running professional courses, do not emphasize enough on vestibule training. That's one.
Right.
Second is WIL. WIL is work integrated learning.
Work integrated learning.
Unless there is work integrated learning and there is vestibule training,
Right.
you cannot hope to get good workers. As I said also, that we need to let go of this blue collar mentality. That, a certain kind of job is below my dignity.
That is.
That is a tendency and a mindset that we need to let go of now.
Right.
So whenever I speak to people, I think there is this dire need to, use some part of assessment which is based on actual work on the field, actual work which is work integrated learning.
Right.
You have to put away the certain assessment, part of the assessment
Right.
as WIL. And it's happening abroad all the time. Why are we as an educational system
Right.
not able to reform
Right.
and give enough importance to this?
Right.
Of late, there has been a lot of talk also of giving people credits for the work they have done
They have done.
in lieu of the years. For example, if you've accumulated that many work hours,
Okay.
that many work hours are equal to the credits in a college.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So if that comes into force, I think we'll be able to move
We'll be able
forward
to move
very fast.
Yes.
But I feel work integrated learning has to be made mandatory
Right.
in every field.
Right. No, ma'am, that is absolutely correct, because if we have that work integrated learning in our curriculum, merged into our education process, it will be easier for student to not be dependent on the company. And if they have a certain kind of skill, because they have maybe built something in their college life, or maybe they are very good in speaking or making a content video or engineering or anything, so they'll be able to figure something out by themselves instead of just running behind one particular job. Ma'am, what are your thoughts on entrepreneurship? Why I'm asking, because I mean. Before this, couple of years back, people used to think entrepreneurship is like just US Silicon Valley and those big startups and like Facebook and Google, all of those things. I remember even in my time when we wanted to start this organization, and especially in the education sector, I told my parents when I was coming back from London. So I told my parents, I want to be an entrepreneur. My dad wanted me to do a PhD, but then I said no, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I want to start something of my own. My dad said, so basically you're going to be an unemployed. So, and he was in shock. So he was not happy at all. I mean, up till I think last year, I think after Shark Tank came to India, so once they saw us, we went over there. Their perspective changed just a little bit, but they were not at all happy. Whenever any relative used to ask them, they used to be very, they used to come back and tell me, look what you did and why you have to travel so much. There's no stable income. Guys don't have a proper office and you are traveling and you're doing sales. Why did you do engineering? So, and I felt like the whole world of my family went upside down and they went crazy. And it's still there. So I remember I went to one of the college in Rajasthan. Rajasthan, and I was talking about entrepreneurship, and it was a parent and student orientation kind of thing. After my talk, one of the parents, they came and they said, "But ma'am, you can talk all about greatness of entrepreneurship all you want, but then if he's not going to earn, then what's the point of us, providing him an education?" Why it's such a, there's so much of wrong understanding, and people don't understand that it's not just about doing something of your own, but at the end of the day you are also creating jobs, you are solving a problem, you are employing so many people, and you are creating more jobs at the end of the day. Why people in India are still so reluctant about it? They're not ready to understand. And ma'am, I'm shocked. I meet so many people, even very reputed people from the industry, and I tell them, when they ask me what do I do, and I tell them, "Ocha, I was working there with NASA. I came back. I started my company." They're like, "Why? That's so sad. Why did you come back to India?" And I'm like, why are they asking me like this? Did I do anything wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because see, most you have to have empathy for the previous generation.
Yes.
The term entrepreneurship is something which is relatively new.
Yes.
The generation which precedes yours, my generation, probably, and one generation behind me,
Yes.
they always look for security in jobs, and they're obviously looking at the money that you're bringing to the family kitty, right? But whereas when now that we are talking, of course there have been great entrepreneurs,
Right.
but those have not been, not at the grassroots level. See, those are great spawning trees.
Yes.
But now smaller entrepreneurs are starting to, what shall I say, emerge, right? And they have every right to emerge. When you start, you always start small. But if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you have to be prepared to understand that to break even, it is going to take some time. That's one. You will not get instant money that you get from somebody else. That's one. Two, you should enjoy the freedom of being your own boss rather than reporting to somebody else. You should take pride in being able to create jobs rather than asking for jobs. These are things you need to explain to people, the advantages of this. I am my own boss. I work on my own terms. I am a job creator and not a job taker. All right? Also ask for them to have patience, because these things in the initial stages, in the nascent stages, any kind of a startup will take some time to take off effectively.
Right.
So get people to understand that in the nascent stages, it may not look the grandeur that you see with the larger brands. You may not see that.
Yes.
But at the same time, allow us to enjoy the growing stages of the baby after its birth.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm sure people will understand. And let me tell you, once you succeed, nothing succeeds like success. You will become a role model for everybody else.
That is absolutely true. So now you made my heart happy. Now just because Dr. Neeta Bali has mentioned, so I'm going to show this to my parent and say, please have some patience. We're going to do wonderful things in life,
Yes.
whichever sector we are in. And luckily we are in education sector, so we're going to make everyone proud. Ma'am, recently there was this controversy. I'm not even sure what exactly is happening today at this current stage, but from past 1 week, because we've spoke a lot about education and entrepreneurship and so many different things, there has been leak in this
NEET paper.
NEET paper. Yes. And I heard that they took hefty amount from the student, from 10 lakh rupees up to 50 lakh rupees for just to clear that exam. Ma'am, why? What are your thoughts about it? Why is it happening?
As I said, the parents are in a hurry to ensure that children settle. These exams, which have been conducted by NTA, are fiercely competitive exams, where lakhs and lakhs of students are appearing. I know the intention of the parents when they buy this kind of a credential for their child may be very right, but it is definitely very unethical. So it's the pressure of the society, it's the pressure of your relatives and friends, and your desire to prove that I am one up, that forces you. It becomes a status symbol, and therefore they spend that kind of money on these unscrupulous deals.
Deals, yes.
Yeah, the unscrupulous deals. Little realizing that their children probably don't have the right skills. So
Exactly.
they buy.
There's no guarantee, ma'am,
Yeah,
right?
there's no
That
guarantee.
even after clearing that exam, they'll actually do
They
something.
will
good.
succeed, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's a very sad reality on it. Hopefully, as you mentioned, that generation is changing, younger generations are coming, they're more creative. Maybe we'll stop doing this rat race of getting 90% marks and, first division and all of that, and be more authentic with ourselves. And with policies being out, maybe we'll have more innovative people coming out who can create more jobs and work and change the way we think, or our parents used to think, or the older generation, and actually bring a new positive change. Ma'am, now because technology is changing in such a fast pace, and at AeroBay also we indulge in so many different technologies, there is a constant fear. And I want to know your honest thoughts on it. Do you think AI is going to take our jobs?
I don't think AI is going to take our jobs, because I am also in the process of learning and using AI very effectively.
Yes.
Please do remember that AI is only going to make your life easier. Alright? I don't think there's any match for human ingenuity. AI only makes your life easier.
Ma'am, there were this.
But definitely the amount of time that any human being would spend on a task will be reduced considerably with the use of AI. For example, if I want to write an article,
Right.
I don't really have to struggle so much, because I have to write that article, it'll probably take me 5 days.
Yeah.
And it's going to take me precisely 10 minutes or 5 minutes to write that article.
Right.
Not write as such, to take tips by putting the right prompt to get suggestions from AI. Alright?
Right.
So, having said that, AI is not going to take your jobs, but AI is probably going to make your job faster. It will hasten the pace of your work so that you're free to do much more. That's how I look at it very optimistically.
Right. So that's a good news. AI is not going to take our job. It's just going to become a helping hand
Yes,
in
yes.
terms of solving those complex problems, and we don't have to spend that many man
Yes,
hours,
yes.
and life will be much easier.
Easier.
Right. Ma'am, as we are coming at the end of our podcast, what do you think, because we talk a lot about STEM education, experiential learning, how exactly schools, teachers, parents, everybody together we can implement this in a true sense so that our kids can actually have a real benefit out of it?
I've seen your kids, I've seen the work that you're doing. I think you have designed it very well. Number one, encourage a lot of children to take the STEM courses. Second, provide them with the tools and resources which are able to ignite interest.
Right.
Now, to ignite interest, you need to have activities. Weave activities into your curriculum very carefully, using the right kind of tools and resources.
Right.
And these are hands-on activities. Please do remember that when we teach, when you teach from a book and children hear, they may be able to recall or recollect a lot of it, but they may not be able to retain it for a very long time. But if you have integrated some hands-on activity using some good resources,
Right.
the memory of that, the retention is going to be far deeper. So I think looking at the school curriculum, integrating activities which are hands-on into
Right.
that curriculum, using resources and tools, the kind that you provide,
Right.
using those with labs like this, beautifully designed labs,
Right.
design and technology labs, or what do you call them, AeroBay labs, which I find very intriguing, very interesting for children to visit
Right.
and to work in. So those labs are so inviting. Personally, in a residential school I led,
Right.
my design and technology lab was my USP. And at any given point of time, after the school hours were over,
Right.
many children, including girls, would just gravitate to the design and
To the
technology
design.
lab
Yes.
to do their own thing.
Right.
So in the evening, it was such a delight to go into the lab and
Right.
see children working with their hands. You know, somebody trying to create a chair, somebody using a saw, an electric saw, somebody using a 3D printer.
Right. Yeah.
So the evenings were spent by a lot of kids in that, and a lot of them were girls. So it used to give me great delight because I thought many girls don't have that kind of mindset.
Exactly. And ma'am, it's very important for girls to enter into this domain because ma'am, up to 12th standard they do take science and they do really well. But I don't know why once they start coming slowly to the real field domain. Like I remember in my aerospace engineering, we were class of 800 students. There were only I think 6 girls. So
because STEM is not so popular amongst girls, it's a duty and responsibility to ensure STEM courses are loved by girls.
Yes.
That they're supported to do STEM courses.
Right. That awareness is very very important, so that they should not, if they've taken science, they're interested in it, they should be able to carry forward with it. Right. So on that note, thank you so much, Neeta ma'am. So we talked so many different things today about entrepreneurship, about AI, STEM education, women empowerment, and we learn in general that solutions are just there in front of us. It just we have to think with the right attitude and a positive mindset, which can actually bring very positive change. Ma'am, any last word for us before we leave for the audience
Sure.
Who's watching us today?
Definitely. I would say I'm very happy that some young people here have taken this great initiative of starting this company and very, very thoughtfully trying to create a curriculum, provided resources which are important for children to learn STEM courses.
Right.
So I think this is very thoughtfully put together. Your office is very thoughtfully put together.
Thank you so much.
Your curriculum is beautifully done. And people like you, not so much the classroom teachers. I have to say this. Not so much the classroom teachers who will encourage this STEM mindset. It's you with the innovative approach that you bring, that you want to integrate into school curriculum.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
That
means a lot.
things will change. And I would urge all educators to be receptive to this, because there aren't so many young people like this who are working towards it in a very organized and concerted and passionate manner.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is us, AeroBay, and you'll find us here somewhere here, Sharan. Here, right? Okay. Thank you so much for watching. See you in next episode.